The Curse of El Dorado. It sounds epic, right? Well, we're about to dig into a story that truly haunts an entire nation. It's this incredible story of unimaginable wealth that somehow leads to total ruin. And it all kicks off with a hunt for a city of gold.
Take a look at this. This is modern-day Venezuela. Now get this. This country is sitting on top of the largest known oil reserves on the entire planet. More than anyone. And yet, the cities are dark. The people are suffering. How does that even happen? It's a paradox that just doesn't seem to make any sense.
So you have to be asking, how on earth did a nation that rich end up so tragically poor? And the answer? Well, it's not what you think. It's not just about modern politics or economics. To really understand it, we have to go back, way back, like 500 years back, to the hunt for a golden ghost named El Dorado.
Okay, so when the Spanish conquistadors first landed in South America, they had one thing on their minds: gold. Specifically, they were obsessed with finding a legendary city, a place where the streets were literally paved with gold. But here's the twist. The real story of El Dorado, it was something completely different. And honestly, it's way more interesting.
Yeah, see, El Dorado wasn't a place at all. It was a person, a man. High up in the Andes Mountains, the indigenous Muisca people had this incredible ritual for when they crowned a new king. And that king, he was known as El Dorado, the Gilded Man.
And the ceremony itself was just wow. It was a deeply sacred thing. So they'd cover the new king's body in sticky resin. Then they'd blow fine gold dust all over him until he was literally a living, breathing statue of pure gold, shining like the sun. Then he'd get on a raft, go to the middle of the sacred lake Guadavita, and wash all that gold off his body as an offering to the gods. Incredible, right?
But when the Spanish heard about this, they didn't hear sacred ritual. They heard gold. They saw a clue. Their greed completely blinded them. And just like that, the story of a man covered in gold got twisted and blown up into a legend of an entire city made of gold. And that misunderstanding, it kicked off one of the most brutal and bloody treasure hunts in human history.
You had literally thousands of men marching headfirst into the Amazon, chasing a complete fantasy. They wiped out entire civilizations, they turned on each other, they just vanished into the jungle. And all for what? For a city that was never even real. They didn't find the gold, but they absolutely unleashed its curse.
So, for the next few centuries, the legend of the Golden City kind of faded away. It became a myth, a bedtime story. But that ghost of El Dorado, that deep, relentless hunger for easy wealth, it never really went away. It was just lying dormant, waiting for its chance to come back in a brand new form.
So yeah, for hundreds of years it was quiet, the jungle went back to keeping its secrets, that crazy obsession with a city of gold, it just faded into a distant memory, really, just a cautionary tale you'd hear about from historians. But don't get too comfortable. The curse, it wasn't gone, not really. That same insatiable hunger for wealth that you don't have to work for a treasure that just springs right out of the ground, it was about to come roaring back. And just like that, the promise of infinite riches was back in Venezuela. Only this time, the treasure wasn't yellow, it was black.
The year is 1914. We're near Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and then, whoosh, a massive pillar of black oil just erupts, shooting straight into the sky. A new El Dorado had just been found.
And what happened next was insane. Almost overnight, Venezuela became the richest country in all of South America. The money just poured in. But, and this is the crucial part, just like those conquistadors centuries before, the entire nation fell for the exact same illusion, this idea that you can get rich without actually doing the hard work. So what happened? Agriculture was abandoned. Other industries were totally neglected. I mean, why bother building anything when you can just drill, right?
So this tragic pattern, this paradox of having so much wealth that it actually leads to ruin, it's not a one-off thing. It actually has a name. And it's the key, really, to understanding how you go from this massive black gusher of oil to a nation completely plunged into darkness.
Yeah, economists have a term for it. They call it the resource curse. And it's this bizarre paradox where having a ton of natural resources like oil or gold actually becomes the very thing that brings a country down. All that easy money floods in and it kills real innovation. It fuels corruption. And over time, it just completely hollows out the economy from the inside out. And this is where that 500-year-old story just comes roaring back full circle. Think about it. Back in the 16th century, you had conquistadors literally starving to death in the jungle, holding bags full of gold they couldn't eat.
Fast forward to the 21st century, you have a nation with more oil than Saudi Arabia, and citizens are lining up for days because there's no gasoline for their cars. It's not that history is rhyming here, it's a direct copy-paste.
The wealth itself, it became an illusion. It wasn't real. Just like all that sacred gold that the Muisca king washed into Lake Guatavita, Venezuela's incredible oil reserves became, well, untouchable. They were right there, under the ground, but totally inaccessible to the very people living right on top of them.
So what's the lesson here? What's the big takeaway from this crazy centuries-long cycle of boom and bust? What is it that the ghost of El Dorado has been trying to teach us this whole time?
Well, look at this. All the grand projects, the big shiny things built on that fleeting wealth, they eventually just rust and fall apart. But the land was here long before the boom, and it'll be here long after the bust. And it just takes it all back. The land remembers what men so easily forget, the true cost of all that greed. The ultimate lesson from this whole story, it's a tough one to swallow, but it's absolutely crucial. Wealth that just comes out of the ground, it doesn't matter if it's gold or oil, it's not a blessing. Not unless it's managed with some serious wisdom. Because if it's not, it doesn't build a future. It just digs a deeper grave.
Because you see, in the end, this story wasn't really about the gold, and it wasn't really about the oil. Those are just things. The real constant, the true curse that keeps echoing through history, is our own human obsession with getting rich quick without creating any real, lasting value. That's the part of the story that never, ever changes.
And so that leaves us with one last big question. The myth of El Dorado, it's way more than just a cool historical story. It's a timeless warning, right? A warning about the deadly temptation of easy riches. And it forces us, all of us, to look around our world today and ask ourselves a pretty uncomfortable question. What is our El Dorado?